and welcome back to the Friday edition of Reaper Pro Tips with me and Quindy holding down the fort and Justin and John being the deserters running the other direction. Well, what can you expect, really? How are you guys today? You know we are, though, Quindy. You know, they like snuck out the back ages ago. Like, we think they're back there. We think they're back there. Like, if the forces of the alien invasion break through, we think they're back there. But in reality, no. We're going to find an open window, and yeah, we're done. It's just us. We just got to hold this down. Not that you guys in the chat are an alien invasion or anything, but you know. I'll end my analogy there. My terrible analogy. And hello, everyone. I think that Justin's a pretty considerate guy. Like, I think, and John would remember to open, like, it's like, Justin is a considerate guy, but he'd forget to leave the window open, and John would remember to leave the window open. So I think we're covered. I think we're good. Yes. So I'll give you guys the early pup date, and we'll give the pup date again later in the stream, because of course there are people who want the pup date, but who are not currently here to receive the pup date. Hold on. Wait, maybe I have a picture. I do have a picture. But you can't really see on the picture very well, and I don't know if it's going to translate over camera. So, on X-ray yesterday, they saw at least 7 puppies. Or Bridget is pretty sure she counted 7. She actually thinks she counted 8, and the X-ray tech counted 7. Justin's wires were crossed last night. Well, when you have to deal with that every day. So yes, guys, 7 puppies at least, maybe 8. Hold on, I'll show you the picture in a second. Still a little bit of these residual something or others clogging up my sinuses, which is weird. Like, okay, I closed all the windows yesterday because it was getting hot, and like my allergies went away, and then I opened them again in the evening. My allergies came back, but less. So it's like, pretty sure it's not COVID at this point. Pretty sure it's allergies. But anyway, let me show you guys what we look at. So, okay, so when we do a pup date, what we're trying to do is we're counting skulls. And you can see how difficult it gets. But look, there's a pupper. You can even see the little front legs. There's the little paws. See the pupper? So that's what you have to do when you get these x-rays, is you have to count the little skulls. Because as you can see, with all of the spines and ribs and everything, it gets very difficult to count anything else. So you do a literal head count. Yeah, little tiny puppy skulls. So yeah, so Bridget sent me one yesterday where she had circled a bunch of them. You can see how, especially when the mommy's organs and stuff get in her ribs, it gets really hard. Like, there's another one, you know. So essentially you have to go hunting. It's like a visual Easter egg hunt as you're trying to find the pupster skulls. But Bridget did mark them all yesterday. She sent me one where she had put a little, put 1, 2, 3, 4 over the various skulls. So yeah. So at least 7 puppers. If Bridget is right, she'll have 8. The most endearing thing she said afterwards was she wanted 7 so she could name them all after season 1 Critical Role characters. And when she found out she might have 8, she's like, "Now I have a DM." My nerdy friends. I love that one of my dog friends has gone whole hog nerd. Like, unabashedly whole hog D&D nerd. It's awesome. It's awesome. So yes, it's going to be pretty weird if the universe doesn't give us at least 1 or 2 girls in that litter. Hopefully the universe will give me even more choices so that I can agonize over them, because nothing is more fun than agonizing over choices. I agonized over choices from Kiri's litter. I only had 2 girls to choose from in Kiri's litter. I still agonized. So I'm sure if there are like 5 girls, my brain is going to explode. Like, yeah, pretty much, Gibson. Puppy x-rays, totally where it's at. Like, Get it all in focus here. There we go. But yeah, so the puppy will arrive Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, if all is well. Those are the days that are kind of in the spread. Puppies take exactly 63 days to gestate from ovulation, not from the date of breeding. They always thought it was the date that they were bred, but then a number of studies have proven that it's actually the date of ovulation, and puppies that fertilize later just catch up during the 9 weeks, which is funky, right? So yeah. So we know what date she ovulated on, but she may have ovulated a little earlier than that. And sometimes they are born a day late, just like with human babies. So we figure probably Tuesday, probably the 28th, maybe Monday night, maybe Tuesday night into Wednesday. So it'll be like that. By Wednesday, I'm gonna say by Wednesday's stream, things should have at least started. So tune in early next week for Puppy Watch. That's what we call it, actually. It's like, we're on Puppy Watch, TM. So yeah. Bridget moved back to to the Dakotas, near Minnesota, where she has family, and she got her a big new house, and she's so happy because she has numerous rooms she can pick from to make the puppy room. No, I think it was just like really the dryness and the heat throwing a lot of stuff into the air pen rig. Like I really don't think this is COVID. Like, because if it goes away when I close up the house, then it kind of says it's more allergies. But I don't know, if David comes up with COVID tomorrow, then we'll know. I didn't actually take a test last night because after I did the whole close up the house and everything got better, I was like, yeah, it's not COVID. Because if it was COVID, it wouldn't get better when I do that. So, but yeah, it could definitely be just because when it gets so very hot, right, the heat rises and it does bring more stuff into the air. The air was full of haze that day. I remember looking down at the mountain, which is, I can walk out on our front street and see the mountain of Mountain View, i.e. I remember looking at it, it was just like hazed out. So I'm sure there was a crap ton of dust and plant mung in the air, and I was just reacting to it. Coffee indeed, Crowley, except not. My guests are grumping at me this morning, still from the travel, so I'm trying to get them to like me again. So no coffee for Anne, just tea. But that's okay, I have tasty teas. All right. Let's see here. I managed to get the gold stuff started on that. And we pretty much have gotten this front, except for the little gems, which I haven't yet decided on. I haven't yet decided if we want an accent color on here. I was vaguely thinking of putting like almost a tropical blue and seeing if I could make that work, because I have a fair amount of white up here for these gemstones. I could maybe. The problem is like just getting the right blue so that the blue exists. Because it's big down here, and that worries me. I'm worried that it won't show as well up top. But if we did go with some blue, like some kind of tropical blue, it would give us a little bit more color complexity, and we could pop it into the hair as well. So I'm thinking about that. Maybe we'll try it. If we don't like it, we can always just paint over it. First, I need to find my cyan blue, because I'm not sure where I put it. Or my tropical blue and a little bit of other. There's cyan. So we'll use cyan. We need to do something bright, because otherwise with the things being this small, it'll never show up. Nice. Cold brew. Yep. All right. And I don't know where I threw my... Oh, yeah, I do know. Don't I? Ooh, I do not have my tropical blue right here. Oh, noes, Charlie. I think I'll use Glacier. I use Glacier and put a little bit of cyan in it. Normally I would use Tropical. Tropical is my favorite of the Bones blues. But in a pinch, Glacier plus a bit of cyan will work. So we'll put the blue on. We'll see if we like it at all. And we'll work with it if we do. And the only reason, like, I feel like at least the accent color will draw your eye up here if I can make it punch enough. Because it'll be, yeah, there'll be spots of it down here, but really only the one and a little bit there. But a lot of it is up here if we put it on the hair and the gemstones. So we're going to try it. So I'm going to do 3 drops of glacier, 1 drop of cyan. We'll see. I mean, it is a traditional triadic color scheme. You could also go with green, in which case you'd have a red and green with a very soft yellow accent color scheme with the cream. And we do need to work on the cream. We should work on that today after I get this blue mocked in. So you could go green with this. I wouldn't go purple because it'd be going closer to red. You don't want to, you've already got yellow in the gold and in that. So yeah, really green and blue are your only choices here. Your only good choices. Yeah, I know what cold brew tastes like. I have a cold brewer, but I use it for tea. And it's very effective if you want to make an iced green tea without getting that bitter taste. You can honestly let it go all night and you won't get that overbrewed tannin-y taste. All right, so 1 drop of cyan. And let's grab some water. Just gonna do 1. All right. Dear me. So that gives us a very pretty blue. Kind of like a slightly darker tropical. And cyan doesn't have bad coverage, so we'll see how this looks. Also, I want to get some pure white because I'm going to have to cover over these black. Since I painted the gems dark at first, I'm going to have to go over those with white. So I get that mixed up. Most things are better than Starbucks. Even David, who used to go to Starbucks a lot, is very much a snooty, Starbucks is not good kind of person now because at the start of the pandemic, he bought his own espresso machine. I told him he should because he'd save a lot of money that way because otherwise he would go downstairs to get a coffee at one of the coffee shops. When we were in the apartment complex, we were right next to a lot of bakeries and coffee shops. And like, he has gotten his money worth out of that. If you drink a lot of coffee, like, he drinks at least, like, he drinks a morning one and another one if he's home, if he's working from home. So I think that thing has paid for itself like 10 times over at this point. I just use the OXO one. Yeah, Starbucks gets a lot of, like, their coffee isn't as good as it was back at the beginning kind of things, yeah. I'm just, like, sulking at them because they bought Teavana and then, you know, promptly discontinued every Teavana store. And I used to get tea from Teavana. All right, so a little bit of blue. And as you can see on camera, that's not showing up at all. I can see the blue in person, though. So I'm going to see. Maybe I can get it to show up. Yeah, you guys can see that. It's a very pale blue right there. It's showing up lighter on camera than it actually is in person. So there you can see. Yeah, so very slight, and that's good. It just adds a little bit extra. Yeah, Grey Mouser. Teavana disappeared because Starbucks bought them and then decided that loose tea stores were not what it wanted to do. And so then it just took their brand and essentially now that's what it's labeling its tea as. It's in-house tea. It's tea bags and all that. But I'm annoyed because I used to really enjoy some of the Teavana mixes and blends and they pretty much went away because Starbucks. So So you can see the blue on this side. It's just very pale. But, and then, like I said, it is brighter in person. I wish I could get it to show up a little bit better on camera, but it's so small. You just use a French press. Yeah, I use, yeah, David's tea is good. I think we order online. I think we order that one online. I also have a favorite tea store in Santa Fe that we always stop at when we're in Santa Fe. All right, so a little pale blue. And you can see that it does show up different on the camera. So I'm gonna block these in. I'm gonna see if I like it. I'm kind of mixed on it right now, but maybe after I repeat it. I actually think it looks a little better on camera than it does in person. But there's no harm in leaving it there, finishing everything else, and then making the final call. Like, it does not take very long to repaint when you're only doing really a base coat. So we'll block in these big gems. With just white, and then we'll put the blue over the top. I mean, it's a light, warm blue. It is a turquoise look. I mean, that is a color that turquoise is. It's not turquoise is many different colors, of course, as a gemstone. But if I was really doing like turquoise, like if I was aiming for that, I would make each of these slightly different color between blues and greens, because turquoise varies a lot. And I would also take advantage of the big gemstones to put some patterning and like browns and stuff in it. But I don't really want to do that. That's not really part of my concept for this character. I'm more just looking for an accent color that I think works, that can draw the attention more to her face. Because we have a lot of freehand going on here. And we're about to put more on. But yeah, tropical blue or mixes of, in this case, a mix of cyan and glacier can totally get you a good color for turquoise gems. But I mean, turquoise has so many colors. It's like any lighter blue, green, or blue or greenish color can work for turquoise. Although greenish may look more like agate. We haven't painted the back of this character at all, so we're going to have a lot to do. Because it has green in it, Grey Mouser. And tropical blue is the name of the color that that I'm trying to replicate. My tropical blue is in the other room. Tropical blue is 9419. Glacier blue is the next one, lighter. So tropical blue is like a darker version of this. Cyan blue is my darker blue with yellow in it. So essentially these work together. But Glacier does have green in it. So I would have used just tropical blue, but like I said, it's in the other room and I'm too lazy to get up. There are times if I really need the precise color that I will get up and grab it from the other room if I've accidentally left it there, but today is not that day. So I'm making my list, guys, of puppy supplies. Trying to debate whether I want to just get a 36-inch crate and put a partition in it, or if I want to get the 24 and then go up to a 48 with a partition. Gonna have to figure out how to do the puppy enclosure over here also. If I just want to use like a pen, or if I want to use an actual crate. When the puppy gets older, she can just, be loose and have a pillow or a mat there. But as a baby, we're going to have to keep an eye on her. So partition makes the crate feel smaller to the puppy so they won't mess in it, Hendrake. The theory behind crate training, and it's real, is that a puppy won't go in their nest. So if you give them just enough room to like lie down, comfortably, and to stand up and to just turn around, they won't mess in it because they can't get away from the mess. And puppies have a very strong instinct. Most puppies, Basset Hounds are an exception. Most puppies have a very strong instinct not to lie in their own mess. Like they want to stay clean and they want to mess away from where they sleep. So by doing making the crate area smaller, you're essentially encouraging the puppy to learn to hold its bladder, and you just let them out on a schedule. So that when you can't watch them, then the crate is their safe place. Alrighty. So that's pretty good. Let's put our blue down in there. But I do believe in crate training. It worked for all of our previous dogs. When I was a kid, we housebroke our Sheltie puppy without a crate, and it was much harder. I mean, he was a smart dog. Fergie was whip smart. And if we had used a crate, he probably would have been housebroken a lot faster. My parents learned, though, when they got their last German short-haired pointer, they crate trained. So some dogs, after they get older, they don't need the crate anymore at that point to teach them to hold it. But some of the dogs just really get to like their crate because it's kind of their safety zone, it's their den. Leo was like that. He loved his crate from the beginning. Yeah. Lady, you're funny. Yeah, yesterday the connection was crazy. Just to know, I had to reset everything. Yeah, she's fun, Lady. And we so seldom get to paint big ball gowns, right, as painters, and so I enjoy painting this sort of thing. Let's get these blue gems knocked in. So it's reading as a pale blue on camera, but it is reading. Yeah, we'll see if I still like it. I still need to put some shadows and highlights in it. Right now it's maybe a little bright, so maybe I'll use a little grayed out color to put the shadow tone into the round gems, but we'll see. And then of course we have to highlight it. Easy. Yeah, they're smart. Interesting that the corgi is proving to be harder, although they are brats, They are the brattiest dogs. Corgis are the brattiest dogs on earth. And proud of it. Like every corgi I have ever met, no matter how sweet, no matter how cute, no matter how intelligent, was a brat. So, definitely not. That's why the corgi paladin is so not correct, unless your world allows for chaotic good paladins. Because no corgi on earth that I've ever met has been lawful. So I think that it's an alignment problem there. Yeah, that's what Leo really loved to go and relax in his crate. Like, we would just leave it open. He'd go in and out. Kiri was like, when she was done with her crate, she was done. She didn't want to ever have a crate again. She was much happier when she was out of it. But Leo loved his crate. But yeah, I want to make sure that whatever I put over here, we can get a good, get the good puppy cam. So you got to be able to see the puppy. Otherwise, why would you guys tune in? Yeah, completely chaotic. Yes, I'm glad to have my conviction reinforced there. Oh, I bet they are, Pendrake. Maybe chaotic neutral. Leo was a lawful good dog for sure. Blazy was chaotic good. Kiri was neutral good. Blazy had flexible morals. Although she was the princess dog though. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not chaotic good. Maybe Blazy was neutral good. Kiri was definitely chaotic in some ways. Kiri would look for advantage. And she'd be like, do I have to? I think most puppies tend to be chaotic good. Some puppies definitely chaotic neutral though. Every once in a while you come across a puppy that's actually like lawful neutral that really, really wants the rules. There we go. So then we've got a little, at least I have an accent color now. I feel like once I highlight each of these little beads with white, the blue is going to get really washed out. You're probably not going to see it on camera anymore. But in person, I feel like it'll be a good enough accent. What do you guys think? Do you like the blue? Yeah, Gibson. Yeah, I'm going to have to teach David. I'm going to have to train David how to train the dog. Because if he's like, this is too much work, I'm going to be like, well then, the puppy is not going to mind you. Lawful neutral. Oh, yes. Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, some dogs really get into the rules and enforcing them for all the other dogs and sometimes even the rest of the family. You like the blue? All right. We'll go with it for now. All right. Well, let's work on our white here. We do have that. You can see there's a little bit of imperfections here. A little bit of heat pitting because she's a big slug of metal. I wish they'd do this one in Bones USA. I don't know if they have or not. All right. I want to mix up a shadow color. Gnawed bone. Originally, I kind of wanted to do the same thing that I did on the linen for the cloth for the bust over there, which would be to use a complementary color. I think I used sticks before, but now I'm thinking maybe I'll try looking for different colors here. Oh, I moved my night sky indigo. Where is my night sky indigo? There's black indigo. There's rich indigo. That's not it. Man, I've just thrown everything all over the place here. I've got way too much rich indigo and I can't find my night sky. Dang it. There it is. I'm going to try to use night sky indigo with this. See what kind of shadow color I can make. Grand Oracle, I want to say that the blue is actually much darker in person than it is on the camera. So I'm not going to take it really dark. I don't want to take it very bright either. And the reason I don't want to take it brighter is that all of these other colors are muted. So when you use an accent color, I could take it brighter if I wanted to. But you might get into the point where if you get too much where it starts to clash. Because muted colors and bright colors usually don't go well together unless it's an accent color like this. So that is the caveat. But yeah, that's why it is actually a bit darker, like this color you see here. Plus, take it even a shade darker in person. The camera's washing out the blue a bit because it's small, I think. So keep that in mind. It is actually darker in person. But I actually am thinking I want to mute it just a little, just because the rest of her is more muted colors. And I want to kind of keep that in harmony. If you would use a clear blue to glaze over this, then you'd make it very bright, and it really would risk clashing with some of the very muted red and yellow. All right, so let's try this. Let's use our nod bone. I'm going to do like a 3 nod bone. Now let's do 4. And then do 1 drop of Night Sky Indigo and see if it turns into a color that I actually like. Let's back up. I think it's that deep chest that makes corgis sound like bigger dogs. Not a big fan of barky dogs, but these puppies should not be terribly barky. Shilohs usually are if they hear the UPS man, or somebody knocks on the door, that Shiloh will bark, but they will then stop barking. So they're not a barky dog. They are definitely a dog that will alert you. And the bigger poodles aren't terribly barky. Let's see how purple this goes. Well, actually, it's not too bad. So that was 1 Night Sky Indigo, 4 Nod Bone, and it actually turned into kind of a nice neutral. So I think I will actually try to shade with that. And let's do this. Nod Bone was our base coat as a reminder, but that's muted and that's more vibrant. So I'm going to put 1 drop of white. A large dog that forgot to grow legs, yeah. Did you know that if you cross a corgi or a dachshund or another achondroplastic, which is what it's called when they have the short leg bones, by the way, achondroplastic, an achondroplastic breed with like a long regular legged breed, you will actually get legs in between the two. Not every genetic trait works like this, but the achondroplastic trait works like it all the time and consistently. So you will always get halfway. You will never get like the achondroplastic gene is like dominant, but not completely dominant. And so it'll give you a middle of the road result. And if you were to breed 2 of those halfway dogs together, you would get a mixture of regular legs, really short legs, and in between legs, depending on how the genes came down. It's really funky. Definitely not every trait is like that, where there's such a clear demarcation and consistent. But it's kind of funky. I always thought it was interesting. But y'all know genetics is one of the things I nerd out about, so. Yeah, the real big question is going to be, will this puppy's ears want to stand up? I think no. I think that this puppy will probably be look like a Shiloh mostly, but still have the floppy ears. Because the dropped ears from the Wetterhound and the Poodle are just going to be too strong. It's going to take like 3 generations to get back to standing ears, in my opinion. But I could be wrong, and this is why this is such an interesting litter. It'll be very interesting if we actually get like a puppy or 2 from this litter whose ears are strong enough to stand. That would be great because it gets us closer back to Shiloh type in, only 2 generations. So that's pretty cool. But weak ears tend to be kind of a bane anyway. Like, it's a very strong genetic trait. The floppy ears is a really strong genetic trait. As you guys know, if you know about the Russian fox domestication project, floppy ears are one of the first traits that showed up when they started breeding for social temperaments, human social temperaments. So you know that it's ingrained at the domestication level, that trait. And even breeds that have erect ears sometimes will throw a softer ear, like German Shepherds. Shilohs also will, every once in a while. If you haven't been paying attention to what's in your back of your family tree, you could throw puppies with softer ears, even if both adults have good ears. Yeah, it's fun when you get into mixes of pedigrees like that because what you usually are seeing, if you see that big of a difference, is you're actually seeing the effect of grandparents more. Because I explained this actually in our little breeder training program. It's there's a reason Tina always would tell us, our breed founder always told us that it was much more common for a puppy to look like the grandparent than the parents. And the reason is that when your dog, when your dogs have puppies, you're like, each puppy has half of its alleles from its mom and half from its dad. But which half? Because that parent is a combination of two grandparents, right? And so you could get where most of the genes that pass down to your puppy from the mom actually come from the grandma. Like most of those genes. Or the grandsire. Or the other grandma or grandsire. So if you get that kind of split where one of the parents gives you a lot of genes from one grandparent, you can have a puppy that looks more like a Pembroke grandparent or a Cardigan grandparent because of that. Because for some reason you pulled all of X genes from, a particular type and they turned out to be dominant. So it's funky. Pendrake, genes, first thing to know about genetics is that genes travel in big groups, usually called haplotypes. And so what happens then is that genes that are not related at all can all end up kind of in the same haplotype anyway. So it's kind of like if you always ordered the same things from your online grocery order, but the particular checker, just because like Coke was next to like toenail clippers, they accidentally would let a toenail clipper fall into the cart because they would always bump off and fall in along with the Coke. So anybody who ordered Coke would get also toenail clippers, even though they didn't have anything to do with each other. That's genetics. So and certain it's been very interesting because certain health disorders are actually shown to have traveled with genes that have nothing to do with that. So what you're dealing with, for example, I'll give you an example from poodles. There's a particular, like you have black poodles, right? But then there is a gene that controls for a really super black poodle, like the Omega black poodle. And this is what all the show breeders really want, right? They want that really, really black dog. They look almost shiny. They're so black. But what they found was there was a particular type of toenail cancer that was only showing up in those dogs. So what's happening is that's a genetic linked trait. And it's passing along with that black, even though it has nothing to do with color. It's in that haplotype. And so it is more likely to match up if you're breeding for that color. So, yeah. So when you're dealing with the genetics of domestication, the genes that control for less fear of humans in wild animals are in the same haplotype bundle with curly tails, floppy ears, and spotted patterns. So when they started breeding the foxes for domestication, they also got a whole bunch of traits that we see in domesticated dogs, even though foxes and dogs aren't the same species. Does that make sense? Yes, Turgeon. I know, right? Yeah, that's one of the things about the corgis. Their herding trait is very much in. So I'm putting in that indigo color here to give it a shadow. I'm just putting it in as a bar. I can always come back and with my cream color, I can kind of fuzz in the edges a bit. But yeah, I love genetics. That's why I was the one in our breed to approach University of California at Davis about doing genetic sequencing for our breed to make sure that we could keep an eye on our diversity and try to breed healthier dogs. Because I'm fascinated with it. I've always been fascinated with genetics. I took a genetics course in college just for an elective because I was interested in it. I had no idea in college that I was going to end up actually using this crap, but I did. Missed him. Funny. Right, and also any genetic traits that like don't seem related but you got anyway. Like if you notice that like some families have certain traits like a jawline or a nose or the shape of the eyes. Like my brother and I have the same shape of our eyes, right? And some of these things are passing down with certain other traits as well. And the traits may have nothing to do with, you know, physical appearance, the other traits, but you won't know unless they pop up. And in humans, this really isn't a problem because we aren't, you know, in most cases, we're not like super inbred. But when you're talking about purebred dogs, they're all coming down from a selection of ancestors that was used to create the breed. And if you're in AKC, you're not allowed to ever add in any fresh blood. So the only genes you've got are the genes you started with. And if that was just that, then that would be fine, except that then the problem is you get something called genetic drift, where genes that aren't bred to as much kind of just fall out of your pool. So you actually start out with, you can't like keep 100% of your diversity unless you use every single dog in your gene pool. So let's do a sideways blend. I'm seeing a bit of a demarcation line here. Let's see if I can get a little closer. Again, it's kind of washing it out, but you can see there's an actual line here. And we don't want that. So we're going to thin our highlight color a little bit. Rent the goats out as a lawn service. Goats are evil, though. Like, they're chaotic evil. You realize that, right? So then you're going to have some serious alignment issues if you try to rent those goats out. Like, goats, yeah, be careful with goats. They can be really, really evil. They're cute, but evil. Kind of like some kittens. Some kittens are definitely chaotic evil. They don't always keep that alignment, but... So I'm just going to brush across this line with my beige color. And I'm going to, just by doing that, it's thinned down a little bit, but I'm interrupting that line with an irregular line. And you always want to go against the grain here. So if you've got a long fold that's vertical, you always want to go horizontal, because that's going to give you that more blended effect. So you can see it's much softer now. It's not a straight. It's not a straight line anymore. So we can fuzz it out just a little bit. And for this, I'm using that 2-to-1 mixture of gnawed bone and pure white. That's thinned pretty way down. And the more I thin it, the more I can get the smooth blended effect, but it's going to take a lot longer layering up those colors. So I've decided to go with a little bit of a faster approach and leave a little bit of texture in my brush strokes, because it's not a bad thing to have a little texture in your cloth. But essentially I'm going to try to paint this color just over the edges. And blend that in. I may decide at some point that I need a little bit of a darker shadow here, but we'll see. I'm going to wait for that until I have my white worked in. So you can already see the difference between this and that. We're just doing some very soft shading. And the reason is that these folds aren't terribly deep. You can see, in fact, that they're pretty shallow. So you're not going to get any really, really dark shadows. You're going to get about like you see here, which is about the same color, same value as this. So that's why I'm not going overboard with the shadows on the cream. Alrighty. I've got a really, really strong line right there. So in this case, I'm actually going to take my shadow color and kind of fuzz it out by adding the shadow a little bit. First. And then right there, it already looks better. Alrighty. So just a little bit of the pure white. I've got that thinned about 2 to 1. Again, going to be going at it with a sideways brush stroke. If I really want a smooth blend, I'd have to thin this down a lot more than it is. But if I'm okay with leaving just a little bit of cloth texture, then I can leave. And you guys can see the texture going crosswise on this dress. But it's only going to be apparent when you get really close to it. This is... No, I don't right now, Pendrake. I feel like, okay, you can get really too busy. And remember, putting freehand at the bottom, unless it's very small and understated and balanced by what's up here. But putting a ton of freehand down here is also going to distract the eye from up here. If I had reversed these colors and I had done red for the underskirt and cream for the overskirt, then I probably could get away with it. Because if I had all my lighter colors all up here, then I could risk some freehand on the darker colors and maybe it wouldn't be too distracting if I made it understated. But remember that freehand draws the eye, just like light colors do, because bunches of tight detail will draw the eye. And the only reason I felt like I could get away with this panel here is because there's even more tight detail all up here and all over her face. Like all of these little details here are helping to pull the eye up here and not have you stare right here right away. But if I start throwing a bunch of freehand down below, everybody's going to be looking down here because now I've got no space for you to look, that isn't busy. You got to let the viewer kind of rest the eye, and the best place to have them rest is down below. Now, if this was on the back of the dress only, like if she had a train and the front of the dress was different, we can definitely do all the freehand we want back here because on the back of the model, there's not a lot to look at. You no longer want to focus on the face. You're just trying to bring out nice details and show people what you can do. So always ask yourself, what is the area of most interest? And that's where your freehand, your tight detailing, your light, bright colors, all that stuff, that should be focused. Your really high contrast, because freehand is contrast too, like to make it show up. Does that make sense? Like you should always get boring down low and get more exciting as you move up on the figure. Otherwise, people are just staring at your boots all day. That's not what you want them to do. Now, if I had gone with different color scheme and had gone with a really orange-red hair on her, I could get away with more because I would be essentially making a really intense color up top. Maybe I make more muted colors down here, then I could do more with freehand, especially if I did it really understated and not really standing out as much as this stuff is. Because there is freehand and there is freehand. Like there's really kind of understated, kind of blends in freehand that's just a nice little kind of Easter egg. And then there's freehand that walks up and socks you in the face. So your mileage may vary. But I would avoid it down here because I feel like there's so much detail on the rest of this model that the viewer needs a little bit of rest area. And I don't want to make them look down here. There's nothing interesting to be here. Keep your freehand and your bright colors and your tight batches of detail. Keep that for the areas of the model that are important, that you want the viewer to look at. And that is almost never the feet. All right, so a little bit too much there. You can see those brush strokes. I need to thin my white a little bit more. It's gotten a little thicker. Very dry and quite warm here this time of year, so my paint is going to dry even faster. But we have been painting for, a good solid 45 minutes with that white, so it makes sense that it would need a drop of water. Yeah, we hire somebody to do our lawn, but our lawn is tiny, so it's not very expensive. Just enough lawn for a doglet. Technically, I suppose I could get a weed whacker and do it myself, but I have learned that there are things in life that I want to spend my time on and things in life that is not worth me spending my time on for me. So I will set aside the cash to get somebody to do my yard work. Although I do rake my own leaves now. And I have been taking care of the plants as far as trimming them and stuff. I enjoy some of it. There we go. Just a little bit acting up right now, Twistoma. You can hear it. But I mean, like I said yesterday, I closed all the doors and windows in the house, and my allergies went away for like 4 hours. Then when I opened up the house again in the evening, the allergies came back, but at a lower level. So there you go, guys. So now you see start, finish. So just a little bit of extra work to make this stand out and look. It's also made it look lighter. It's made it look a little less creamy because I chose to go with a complementary color, which grayed out the shadows a bit. So it did change a little bit of color. No, I don't believe in dog doors, Pendrake. They make me a little paranoid. I am always the person who will control access to the outside for my dog. And I'm always the person who will go out with my dog. There's too much my dog can get into, and I want to keep my dog safe. So I want to be the person who goes out first and checks the yard to make sure there's not a skunk. I am that person. It has paid off in spades, too, because I spotted a copperhead one time going out with my dogs in the old house in Texas. I managed, because I am always out there with my dogs, I was able to keep them away from the snake. Because one of my dogs is had his instinctual response to the snake where he does not want to go close to it, but the other ones are dumbasses. They would have gone, hello, snake, and gotten bitten. So I really believe in going out in the yard with my animals. I also had an acquaintance who lost their puppy because the puppy ate part of the body of a rat that had been poisoned. And although in many towns poisoning is outlawed, that's another thing. If the person had been out there with their dog, they would have been able to get their dog away from the thing before, So I'm very strong on that. I don't believe in doggy doors. Maybe if you live somewhere where there aren't poisonous things or stuff that a dog could really get into. But I am that paranoid pet owner. I will admit it. I would rather sacrifice the few moments of my time to go out and interact with my dog. Also, there's the fact that every time you go in and out of the door, which is something the dog wants to go outdoors, that's a good training moment for your dog because the reward is to go outside. Yeah, we did that with Leo, Twistedoma. We did that with Leo. We trained him to ring a bell at the door. Unfortunately, you don't realize that you've created a monster until the bell starts going off at all times. So we quit the bell. We didn't do the bell for the second dog. By the time Kiri came, we had realized that we'd created a monster and we stopped the bell. But yeah, we did train Leo to do that. But he would go up and he would just like, whong, the bell with a big paw. We still had scars in our paint. He's a big dog. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to really training this puppy in depth. So going outside is going to be a reward, and the puppy's going to have to, sit or down or do a trick to get that reward. There's a dog training protocol that pretty much like calls that a real life reward, where the dog really wants to go outside. And so it doesn't involve a treat or anything. So it's kind of a way to get away from the whole giving your dog treats to do stuff all the time. It trains them that there are other rewards than treats, which I like. I really like that. Because, of course, the problem with training your dog with treats is that what happens when you don't have the treat and you desperately need their attention. Yeah, it works a little bit too well. I know other people who had the same experience. When your dog is smart, your dog is like, oh, if I ring this bell thing, they let me out. I want to go out. I don't have to go, but I want to go out. Yeah, oof, blorf. I blorfed. Oh no. I blorfed and it didn't want to come up because it's drying so fast in this climate. There we go. A little bit of scrubbing, maybe with a stiffer brush. Where's my synthetic? Curses. There. Yeah, I think with a teensy dog, ringing the bell is fine, but when you have a monstrous dog that's like 60 pounds at 6 months that can do real damage to your paint, then maybe not. Yeah, none of our other dogs needed that. We just took them out on a schedule. But yeah, really looking forward to this puppy. Looking forward to training her. And then maybe we'll try some classes. Yeah, exactly, Gibson. Exactly. Ring, ring, ring. Yep. Yeah, and Shiloh Shepherds are definitely smart enough to train you. You gotta watch for that. Gotta be alert. Well, that's good. So he has good control then. Good self-control. She's like, this only works at this time. Either that or she learned, like, you know, if she tried to do it earlier and it didn't work. Dogs will learn. Like, they will try you. But if it doesn't work, then they won't do it again. They'll be like, oh, that doesn't pay off. But if it works even a couple of times, they'll continue to try it. So, that also depends on the dog and their motivation level and, you know, how much they try to game the system. You know, because just like with humans, some humans don't really try to game the system, and some of them do. And the same with dogs. Yeah, a dog that is patient, that's a plus. You can teach a little bit of patience, but it helps if your dog is naturally patient and has learned that skill. Just like with people, right? Some of us have to learn to be patient. And some of us start out seeming like some kids are just more patient than others. I really am interested to see what this litter will hold. Yeah, they're a little bit darker in person crows. The camera is kind of washing them out. But by the time I highlight them, they're going to be very pale. So again, kind of fuzzing in that shadow so it's not real stark by going across the grain. Well, yeah, if the bin's open, it's all fair, right? Open bin equals dog puts head in bin. I thought that was standard. I mean, come on, like you could still see parallels with humans, right? Some kids would be like, if the cookie jar is closed, they'll be like, oh, okay. But if the cookie jar is open, the cookie jar is freaking open. Or like if there's a bag of candy that hasn't been opened in the cupboard, no one will touch it. But the minute that bag of candy is open, it like evaporates in 2 days. Like, this is a thing. And we shouldn't be surprised that it's also a thing for our dogs. Open equals accessible. That's funny that you have a Sheltie that loves pizza. And that's funny. Is you know, different things will motivate different animals, even different foods. Yeah, I'm very excited to figure out who my new puppy is. Like, that's going to be the most fun thing, is to figure out what are her likes and dislikes, you know? What games does she like the best? What tricks does she like the best? What kind of rewards does she like? You know, does she prefer a toy or food, you know? So a little bit of highlighting there to bring you see how the difference between this fold, which is a lot more dull, and this one, which has gotten our first highlight on it. Yes, we have a puppy x-ray, and at least 7 puppies have been spotted in the x-ray. Hold on, I have a picture. We'll show the picture again since it's been a while. All right, so here's our x-ray photo with mommy's, you can see mommy's spine and mommy's ribs. But you can also see there's a mess of puppies in here. And down here you can see a little puppy skull with the little puppy forelegs and even little puppy paws. Look at those little puppy paws. But you can see how hard it is. You have to count the skulls, because otherwise it's like a mess of rib cages and spines. Like, you just can't tell where one starts and the other begins. So you have to look for the rounded areas, the round skulls. So yes, there are pupsters. There are, Bridget thinks she counted 8. The x-ray tech counted 7. But Bridget thinks there was one hiding behind the intestine stuff. So oh, you're not gonna, yeah, that's gonna be really hard to train your pup, Lady Kachara. Gonna be really hard, especially if your mom reinforces bad behavior. That happened with, I had that happen with a friend of mine who had one of my dogs. He was a horrible food thief, and her mother-in-law lived with them, and she always fed him, and off the table. And trying to break that rule, like, the only thing she could get, and it was with some serious training too, but training leave it, essentially when she was present. So when she was present, the dog would lay down and not touch the food. And then her mother-in-law complained because she wanted to feed the dog, and when the daughter-in-law was present, the dog wouldn't do it, wouldn't take the food, because he knew that he wasn't supposed to. But only when the daughter-in-law was there. So yeah, like, the dog will figure out how to segment that. The dog will figure out fast that, like, your mom is the soft touch, and as long as you're not in the room, the dog can have the food off the table. Like, yeah. The dogs are smart enough to figure that out, but it'll be frustrating for you. But yeah, I've directly seen that happen in a family. And it's sad because, like, you really want to be consistent. Like, it's much easier for your dog to learn if you're consistent. And you'll have a more consistently behaved dog in, like, other settings. Like if you go over to someone's house with your dog. Or you're at the park at a picnic. You know? So yeah, it helps to have everybody on the same page, but at the same time, so few households are able to do it consistently. I wouldn't worry about your puppy getting confused. Your puppy's going to figure out the rules. It's just going to be frustrating for you. The puppy will figure it. Dogs all the time. I mean, think about it. All the time, dogs figure out if somebody in a family is a soft touch. Dogs are very good at that. They're like, I can't get what I want from these people, but if I wait till little Cindy is alone in the room, she'll feed me right off her tray. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, some puppies aren't into treats. Some puppies aren't even into toys. Some puppies, we call that being very low drive, where it's very hard to motivate the dog. And that is a super difficult dog to train because, as you pointed out, Gibson, figuring out what makes them tick. What can you do to reward them for a behavior to indicate to them, this is what I'd like you to do, right? And it can be very difficult. That's why I like this real life rewards thing where it's like your dog, no matter who your dog is, your dog wants to go outside. So using that as a training app because your dog's drive doesn't matter there. Your dog almost always wants to go outside or to come into a room with you. Like if you barricade off your kitchen, as we did in the past to keep the dogs out of the kitchen when we were cooking. You know, the best thing you can do then is to try to use those like things that your dog really does want to do and use those as training opportunities to build focus. But yeah, not easy. Not easy. Yeah, so the best you can do, lady, is to pick your battles. Figure out what's really important to you as far as your puppy's behavior. And really kind of have a meeting with everybody and say, hey guys, we're going to probably be getting a puppy. And this is what I'd really like everybody to do. Because otherwise we'll have a dog that does X. Like if it's, I want my puppy to sit before he goes outside, you know, I want my puppy to sit before he meets a stranger that you invite over, that kind of thing. Whatever behavior thing is going to be the most important to you. That's what I would try to get your family all on board with. Either that or honestly, I would just wait to get a dog until you have a place with less people. Like if you think that it's going to be really frustrating for you and it's going to essentially damage your relationships with the humans in your life, then it's probably best to wait. And just get a dog some other time. The puppy for you is out there waiting somewhere. So there we go. So now you guys can see the different layers of color with the shadow and the midtone, and then I'm bringing in the white. So that looks nice. Let's back up and look at it. Yeah, so if I push that out, yeah, we can see that there's a nice differentiation. You can see where the folds are. Now, if I want this to look more white, I would take my white and broaden the highlights and take up more room. Yeah, I'm going to have to train David Twisted Oma because he's never had a puppy. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. So this is going to be David's education. I can just foresee. I can absolutely foresee this is a lot of work. And it's like, yeah, it is. This is why a lot of people don't train the dogs very well. But there are simple things you can do. I mean, you don't have to, it's not like a super, super endeavor to come out with a decent dog. I just enjoy. I consider puppies to be like little alien intelligences without opposable thumbs who like don't speak my language and who think differently than me and have superpowers. So like for me, I just like to figure out what makes that puppy tick, and I actually enjoy the training. I enjoy training. I think it's fascinating to watch how they learn and see them catch up and see the light bulb go on their heads. Yeah, I would definitely weigh the pros and cons, lady. Like, figure out how much is going to frustrate you if other people, like, essentially turn your dog into a badly behaved dog, because certainly other people in your household can give your dog really bad habits. That's the thing. It happens. And with that many people in the household, you also need to be careful what kind of puppy you get. Like, a puppy that is, like, more sensitive is going to be more confused by a lot of people and a lot of going on and a lot of noise. So really question what sort of mix that you would get or breed that you would get depending on your household. Some personalities will work better with a busy household than others. That's part of what we do with our breed when we do the temperament testing, is we're trying to spot that kind of thing so that we can get the puppy in a home that the puppy can succeed in. But yeah, I can't even tell you the number of times I've talked to somebody who's been like, yeah, my husband gave my dog such a bad habit, or my mom gave my dog a bad habit, or my kids have given my dog such a bad habit, or my roommate gave my dog a terrible habit. You know, it happens. So just try to be consistent. Hey, no problem. I have raised many puppies at this point, lady. I have raised 5. 3 of them the same breed. No, 6 actually. 6 because we had our German Short Hair Pointer when I was a teenager as well. I was a bad dog trainer then, but I still learned a lot from training for Fergie and Pippi. Now I'm much more thoughtful about it. All of my Shepherds, all of my Shilohs have been very different bloodlines and very different temperaments and very different personalities. Plus, just having been a breeder, I've also helped my puppy people when they've had problems. So, there we go. So we can see the nice difference on the folds there. Gibson, that's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it will help you if you get a dog. It will help you to actually learn to not be the opposite of indifferent. To really pay attention to your dog's body language, to learn how to read dogs. There's some good books out there. Pretty simple books that will teach you to spot when your puppy is uncomfortable or afraid of something. And knowing these things and acting to, show your puppy it's okay or to get your puppy out of the situation so that you can come back at it with a more positive or controlled bent later. Like, these are very useful things to pick up about dogs. So, like, knowing that when a dog licks its lips and sniffs the ground, it's not necessarily ignoring you. Those are both calming signals. It means the dog is uncertain or uncomfortable with something and they're trying to calm themselves down. Excessive slobbering. Usually it's just the dogs with the big long hanging flews. Some breeds are slobberers. Although, you know what? 2 of my Shilohs were slobberers. And it was funny because it was the boys were super, super neat drinkers. Like, they would just delicately lap at the water, and it would only get a couple of like little drips to either side of the water dish. But the girls, I swear, would just like slurp up a mouthful and half of it would fall out of their mouths. The girls were terrible. Hey, Mazeblitz. Yeah, some breeds, and usually it's the big floppy lips, right, that make a dog slobber. We're talking about dogs today because I just found out I'm probably getting a puppy, Maze. My breeder did an x-ray and found 7 puppies in there at least. So we're talking a lot about dogs. But we're also talking about painting. I'm doing highlights and shading on the white today. So I mixed up a color using complementary colors. Yeah, all those breeds, if you think about it. Well, not so much with Rotties, though. Some of the Rotties have a lot tighter lips these days, and they don't slobber as much. Yep, the slobber rag. Yep. I'm not into it either. That's why I like Shepherds. But yeah, so we mixed up a shading color for our white. Oh, nice. So yeah, we're doing our white highlights on our cloth today. Yeah, it's lots of work to raise them right. Absolutely, Mazeblitz. Sounds like your friend's a good breeder. Because yeah, it is. If you're a good breeder, it is a lot of work to raise pups. To give them a good start. I appreciate breeders that do the work. And it usually pays off because their pups have fewer behavioral problems as they grow. Yep. Yeah, that's about the going rate in our breed. I don't know, normal or not normal, right, Agent Marvel? There may be an excessive slobber trait out there. Maybe you're right. Like, there is like an over, what do they call it? Over secretor. It happens in humans, actually. Too much spit, essentially. So it is possible that it could be, and I just haven't heard of that particular thing. Yeah, Oracle. Yep, yep, yeah, they do it right. I'm impressed, Maze. That's great. Sounds like your friend's a really good breeder. And when you do that much work, then $3,000, yeah, considering how much work you had to do with that litter, $3,000 is reasonable. Good job. Good job with your friend. Like, props to your friend. That's good. That's good work. Good work. That's what my puppy breeder is doing as well. She's really dedicated when she raises her pups. Yeah, the best golden retrievers are that, right? And then there's the worst golden retrievers. Like Harvey, my friend from before. The golden retriever that pretty much had a bucket list of all the things she really wanted to run over, fall into, jump up on, eat. Yeah. Yeah, because it is a lot of work, Maze. Like, there are easier ways to make a living, for sure. But when you love the dogs, I will admit, like, I don't like whelping, but I did really enjoy raising my puppers, like Kiri's puppies, my old dog. There we go. So that's looking really nice. So the more white we layer in, guys, the brighter we can make all this look. I don't want it to be too bright, because again, I don't want it to attract too much attention. But I'm liking this pretty much. So I think we're going to go with this. So let's just continue highlighting back here. I've just blocked in my shadows. Yeah, unfortunately, it's hard battle on that, right, Maze? Because there's really not a lot of enforcement in the Netherlands. In some countries in Europe, you have to actually go to classes to be a breeder, like to actually call yourself a breeder. And you actually have to do, like, you have to purchase a license, I think, and you have to, like, go to actual classes on animal husbandry and stuff like that. I have friends in the Netherlands, and that was one of the things they told me. So some countries have more oversight, I guess. So pretty much going to come in now after I've gotten a little bit of, you can see I'm using some of my brush strokes here, but I'm going to come in. Yeah, I'm with you though. I really hate people who just do it for the money. I wish there was a way to also educate people who are going out to get a puppy, kind of what the red flags are, that the breeder you're dealing with might be a puppy mill, but I guess people are doing their best to try to educate. So all we can do is keep trying. All right, so a little bit of blending there, just a little bit of wet blending to kind of try to fuzz in this line a little bit. So that looks like it's nicely blended. Yeah, that's why I keep my dogs indoors while I was at work. Later, I took my dogs to work. I wouldn't want somebody to take my dog out of my yard. Like, I would kind of freak out if that happened. So, I am that person. I will admit it. So now with our highlight color, just bringing in some lighter color. And I'm doing kind of some intermediate mixing here too, where I'm throwing a little bit of white into my brush along with the cream color that we're using. So I kind of get an intermediate highlight, not straight up to pure white. And remember to keep your brush at a consistent angle. Always move the angle of the model, so that you have a comfortable angle to move your brush, and try not to change the angle of your hand with the brush or your brush stroke too much. We're going to go a little later today because I couldn't go too late yesterday, and I'm still making up a little bit of time. So we'll go a little bit after the usual time. So you can see the lines there. Like, you can still see them. You can definitely see the lines in person. So like, one thing I might do, I usually just build it up and build it up and build it up until the lines kind of wipe each other out and you get kind of a finer texture. That's one way you can do it. I mean, it depends, right, Pendrake? Does the dog have shelter and like water? Is it 100 degrees out? Is it not? Is the dog used to that sort of thing? Does it enjoy it? I mean, plenty of farm families did it for the last century, so, and their dogs seemed perfectly okay. But, you know, if the dog is tied out with no water and it's like 90 degrees, then, and no shelter, then I would say, yeah, it's bad. I think that's what the law in Texas was, or in Denton maybe, was the dog had to have shelter and water if it was going to be tied out in a yard. But again, I don't know. My dog's like, you don't want to get a shepherd and just do that. Like, your shepherd wants to be with you. So it depends on the breed too. Some breeds be perfectly happy just chilling. But shepherds are not, because they want to be with me. Like, my Shilohs, they would not have like tolerated that. Like, they would have made trouble. They would have broken something or hurt themselves. They would have not been happy. But some breeds don't have as much drive to like be with you, so it all depends. I don't think we can generalize about that sort of thing. Do I like it? No, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Me not liking something doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means I would never do it. Just same with painting, right? And it's the same with everything. All right, so just keep building up that texture. And as we build up that white, it gets brighter and our shadows look darker. Yeah, and that's typical of herding breeds, right, Gibson? It's kind of why I like herding breeds, is because of that people focus. They want to be with you. And that's part of what makes them easier to train. Because they want to be with you, so they want to interact with you, so they want to figure out what makes you tick, same as you're trying to figure out what makes them tick. I've always liked herding breeds for that reason. I love the easily trainable thing. Biddability is what we call it in the biz. The dog is biddable. It is easily trained and wants to please you. A little bit of a line highlight down the side here, just to bring out where that fold is starting to come up again. Also helps make that red pop out a little bit over here to put that little highlight. Might have to redo my lining. You can see my lining has got a little mucky here. I'll come back and do that later. All right, one last side. So you can see we've taken it a lot less yellow, and part of what is the reason for that is that we mixed this shadow by adding indigo to it, by adding night sky indigo. So right away that slides this toward purple, and it means that we've muted out our yellow. So we still have a creamy color, but it's not nearly as yellow as it started out. You can still see bits of it. And if I wanted to bring some of this like warm tone back, if I decided that I really wanted that, then I could glaze with my gnawed bone color. I could just make a glaze out of it and put it over all of these finished areas. However, I kind of like what I've done here, and the reason is that now this is different from the gold. Whereas here, they're similar, right? They're very, very similar. But here, now they're different. So that was on purpose, pushing it away from the cream, even though I'm still utilizing parts of it, pushing it further away from the cream so that the gold would look better with it. And we get more contrast that way. One thing I will also do is kind of highlight in here a little bit. So I don't really want a shade in here with these laces necessarily, unless I just do it at the top, under the bust. Yeah, see that there are different cities that do have ordinances about tying up animals and leaving them, and so it depends very much on where you are. And for a dog that really is social and wants to be with a family, it can just be an incentive for that dog to then escape, maybe get run over by traffic, get into trouble some other way, or end up in the shelter. So, yeah. I mean, so I'm going to start out with a vertical brush stroke on the shadow here. I'm not going to stay there. I'm just going to use it to get a lot of ground covered quickly, kind of block in my shadows, but then everything else I'm going to be doing crossways. Horizontal, not vertical. A little bit of a hair there. Those will get more common once we have a pupster. There we go. So blocked in that last shadow. And go a little longer. But yeah, looking forward to my puppy. Very excited. I really hope I can get a puppy that's, I really like puppies that are eager to please. We do a test where we roll the ball for the puppies, and retrieve drive is pretty rare in our breed. I mean, shepherds don't have natural retrieve drive. But what does happen in our breed is that once the puppy figures out that the person who's the tester who rolled the ball, if the tester is super happy that the puppy brought the ball back, the puppy will figure out that, oh, this makes the human happy, this is fun, and the puppy will retrieve the ball again. That's the temperament I really like. I love the temperament that's like, oh, the human is happy, let's do it again. I like this, I like that puppy. That's kind of the temperament I've really been looking for. So I'm hoping to get a puppy like that. Kiri's grandson Baxter was like that, or son Baxter was like that, and her grandson Kovu also, Baxter's kid. Oh, I see. Tying up a dog and leaving it behind, like abandoning it? Sorry, I thought you were talking about leaving it out in the yard. But if somebody did that at whole paycheck, yeah, I mean, the dog is probably going to go to the shelter unless somebody adopts it. I don't know if I mean, again, the specific like law or anything that may have been broken, I don't know. It depends where you live. I wouldn't know, Pendrake. I wouldn't be the one to ask because it really depends on where you live and what the law is about abandoning animals in public places or whatever's going on. And I would not be the expert. That would be a question for your sheriff's office, I think, as Miss Imp. It's a pipe. I believe it's a pipe. I'm not making glowing embers in it because she's holding it sideways and the embers would be like setting her dress on fire. So here we go. But yeah, the person to answer your question would probably be your local sheriff's office, Pendrake. Yeah, the way she's holding it, hard to tell. I'm going to assume that even if she is that old, she wouldn't admit to it, so she's not going to use a ear trumpet. That's why I dyed her hair. That's why her hair is brown. Oh, yeah. Like, I kind of wish, if you really can't take care of your dog anymore, for whatever reason, I wish people would just, I don't know what they're hoping at that point. Like, I can't even really judge them. Like, what happens if that person, like, lost their job and couldn't feed their dog anymore and tied it up outside of Whole Foods because he thought, well, people coming through here, they have money, so maybe they'll be able to take care of my dog, because if I take my dog to the shelter, it might get put down, right? Like, I could see that happening. So I can't really judge anybody. But I wish that there was a process. Now, if the local shelter is no kill, then I see less of an excuse for that. It's a really hard call. So there we go. Yeah, there's rescue. That's true, Pendrake. But you'd be surprised how many people don't have a real awareness. Like, they get a dog because they think they want a dog. And it turns out that either they don't really want a dog, or they can't take care of the dog, or they realize that it's expensive and they can't do it. Or they, are living with their family and their mom or dad tells them you can't keep the dog because it's peeing everywhere or whatever, right? And these people maybe don't even know, like, who to go to. I have no idea. Like I said, yes, there are options. I agree with you. I just never know. Like, and I've even seen, I hate to say this, but in our breed, there was a couple where one of them was having severe health issues and the other one was starting to have health issues too, but they were too embarrassed to seek help. And so their dogs ended up in a terrible place when the one died and the other one ended up in the hospital, and neither one could work and there was no money. And yeah, it was a really, really bad situation. So There's all sorts of stuff. I just feel so sad for people sometimes. And their animals. Now, some people should not ever be allowed to own animals. That said, I do believe that this is a thing, but I try not to judge if I don't know the whole story. That's nice, Miss Tim. That's nice that your SPCA is a no-kill. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, just a little bit of work, right? Just a little bit of work to get somebody to take your dog. I mean, it was difficult to rehome ours. I was starting to despair at one point when I had to rehome 2 dogs when I got the divorce. But both of my breeders had passed away, so I couldn't. In our breed, normally you contact your breeder and they help you, which is huge because our breeders kind of have really good communication. We got kind of a network going on, so if there is we don't have an official rescue in our org, but when a puppy person contacts one of our breeders, we all immediately like email and post on our social media and put the word out, right? So that all of our breeders then are working to find a home for that dog, which is awesome. But both of my breeders had passed away, and there wasn't really anybody else near Texas who was in a position that they could take a dog. So as it turned out, our friends stepped up to help us. There we go. So that looks nice. You can still see a little bit of fuzziness and some lines that I've got going on here. And I didn't get quite as purple here as I did up there. When I put the color on heavier here. So if you just put the color on more light, you can see that you actually keep more of that creamy color, as opposed to here I've got the purple. I've also let the purple get a lot broader, right? The purple's taking up a lot more space, whereas here the cream is taking up more space. So it's looking like it's a lot more, a lot creamier than the front is. In the back, I still need a few more highlights. So this is looking really good, I think. I like it. I need to do the same thing on the sleeves up here, but we'll probably get to that next time. I need to make a note that I used Night Sky Indigo for this. 1 second. I'm going to swatch it out. Get the card, remember? Get the card. Get the card, put the color down. And make a note that it's Nod, Bone, and Night Sky. All right, so 4-1, Nod, Bone, Night Sky. There we go. Shadows on dress, or shadows on cream. Sometimes it helps to make a little bit of a note. And then I've got this, and I keep it with the model. I keep it with her little card. And then I'll have a reference. And I also have the swatch, so I can match my color next time when we come to do the sleeves. Yeah, absolutely, Gibson. Yeah, a good breeder will do that. That's one of the things when somebody comes up to us and tells us, our org, that they want to be a breeder of Shilohs. One of the things that we ask them to consider before they even join the program is, if one of your puppy people has issues in, medical or monetary or job and can't keep the dog, are you able to, at least temporarily take the dog or arrange a temporary home, foster home, that kind of thing. Good breeders have a lot of responsibilities. There we go. So that's looking pretty nice. I've still got a little bit of a line there. I gotta kind of fuzz in a bit. I do like Shelties. Just a little bit of blending just to kind of fuzz that in. Could do a glaze as well, or just brush some thinned paint over it to get those lines to blend in a little bit better. All right, well, it is about 20 after, so yeah, most people will guarantee for the first 2 years Maze Bits, and it's either a refund or a replacement puppy, so a second puppy. Some people, when their dog gets sick, they just want the refund, but some people, you know, will choose because they would like another pup. You know, they'll still keep their other pup, but we'll do that too. It depends on what your situation is and all that, and then it depends by the breeder. It varies a little bit by the breeder. Everybody kind of follows the same kind of template, but it varies a little bit. You can still make your own decisions. But yeah, sure. Yeah, I hope you guys have a really good weekend. I think that she's really come now. The front, like she's almost done on the front, right? So I think she looks really good. I want to definitely finish her by ReaperCon so I can send her to Ron so she can live in the Reaper cases, the Reaper gallery. Yeah, really nice. Cool, Gibson. Yeah, you have a cool breeder. Yeah, Reaperland. Dave has Shelties, or he had Shelties. Speaking of Reaperland. I don't know if he still has a Sheltie or if he hasn't or if he doesn't, but yes. So, all right, cool. Thank you guys for showing up. On Monday, we will be back to bust. We're back to bust. I'm going to work on this until I absolutely refuse to work on it anymore. We started on the white and getting that done. So we're going to start on the blue probably soon. So yeah, we take off her hat, but yeah, so she's getting there. Like she's moving right along. I kind of want to do some wool texture on her jacket. So maybe we'll work on that. Yeah, so puppies and painting. Yep, sorry. I went a little bit off on the dog track today. We'll tone it down. We'll be on. Well, once the puppies are born, we can just talk about like puppies and stuff. I might have pictures of tiny Shiloh sausages. They look like little sausages. That's what they look like when they're born. Reaper puppies, yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and I will see you guys. I should be streaming on my channel tomorrow, twitch.tv/paintingbig. I think I might. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try at least for an hour. Gonna try for at least an hour. We have to go into the city that night, but I should be able to. All right. Thanks everybody. Bye. Have a great weekend.